All my children in the daytime, Dallas at night. Can't even see the game or the Sugar Ray fight.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, live from Pittsburgh Studio number 1, it's Cold War Radio. Here's your host, Hutch Bailey Jr.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to hump day. Yes, we did. Another week, halfway knocked out. Welcome and thank you for choosing Cold War Radio from the Alpha Foxtrot studio in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. The voicemail for you podcast dwellers, 412-567-1460, because we love you too. Please go to steelcityresistance.com and become a Cold War Radio patron. That's what really drives the train here. We've got, I think we're down to 23 of them. 23 people basically pull the load. And some of them donate more than once. And some of them are very generous. And I thank you very much. I'm humbled by each and every one of you. And if anybody new is listening to the program, we are a completely listener-supported program. There's 5 of us on staff here. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 5, including myself, on staff here. When I say on staff, you know, money that gets donated to the show, a percentage of that goes directly to the co-hosts. And when I say donated to the show, everybody that's listening helps, because those commercials that you ought to be able to not hear the commercials if you're a patron. But everybody else that does, we get a little bit from there too. But anyway, it's just something going on. If you're new to the program, go to steelcityresistance.com, go over there, and you know, after you listen to us for a while, and you know, you can analyze and evaluate the amount of work that we put into it, and you know, maybe hook us up commensurate with that. We'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you just for listening. Thank you. So go to steelcityresistance.com. You can catch the research room, the video 2 page, which shows the videos of the audio clips that we play. And also, tonight there's a very in-depth educational type segment of the program that I'm not going to be able to share all of the written material. So the link to that story is in the chat room. I'll give you a heads up. Or not the chat room, rather the video 2 page. I'll give you a heads up when that comes. If you'd like to write to the show, write to scrtv@live.com, scrtv@live.com. If you've got a paper and pencil, Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 104, Tree 370, Castle Shannon Boulevard, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15234. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a lot going on, a lot of concern in the chat room, a lot of concern in the country. I understand that. Let me get through a couple things. My brother-in-law, Terrence Lawson, says, I'm raising funds to cover the cost of the training course required to become a rescue team member with Children's Rescue Initiative. Go to steelcityresistance.com, and you can navigate to his GoFundMe account. He's got a little over half of his $1,500 goal. So anyone who's listening to the program that donated, I want to thank you immensely for that. That's something that is a very good cause, and I hope he gets his goal. It's something that's he's a perfect fit for going and rescuing kids. I'll tell you that. I'm proud of him. Feeling a little upbeat here, unlike a little bit of the chat room feeling, but I understand that. I've been going through some ups and downs, especially when it comes to political things, but I'm noticing that the field's starting to shake out now, and it's, you know, before, when the president was in command, in office, there was so many fakers that it was hard to discern who was on our side and who was not. It's becoming much easier to do that now, because I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about Republicans that make them so clueless about mankind. and especially about American mankind. And I see these people come out, and some of them have vast pedigrees, like the Cheneys. Kinzinger, not so much. But you got to wonder, how did you ever, or how do you ever think that the losers of the Mitch McConnell era are ever going to come back into power? They're dead. And Liz Cheney, you are too. I don't know if you know that or not, but you and Mike Pence, you guys are done. You're never going to get elected to anything again. And if I'm wrong, then we don't deserve freedom. But there's some things that are going to be said tonight that we really have to. I don't want to tell everybody that you got to think in lockstep with other people, but baby, we got to pile on. It's time to get real. If there's some momentum pushing Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger out, you better hop on that damn train. It's the only chance we have of keeping the party, keeping the infrastructure. Now, you know my feelings on that, but I'm all about winning. I'm pragmatic. That's what it takes. That's what we're going to do. There's no principles being compromised there. So I'm feeling a little good. Like I said, I'm seeing some things happen. I'm seeing some judicial decisions and more importantly, some judicial opinions that make me feel a little bit better. And I always know that we have truth on our side. Don't ever forget that. Every time they come to a fight, especially a quote-unquote civilized fight, such as a court case, remember, they have to lie. Their default is lie. Everything they do is lies. Remember that. They're criminals. So are most of the Republicans, by the way. But I told you, we don't have time. When we're fighting, we got to fight the Democrats. We have to eliminate the corrupt Republicans that are in our midst, and we have to do that rather quickly. Oh, by the way, I guess I forgot to tell you, Sal's going to be late tonight if he makes it. We'll see if he does. I don't know if he will or not. I hope he does, but we'll see. He's doing something with the family, and that's always the first thing you got to do. You got to take care of yourself and your family. So when he gets here, he gets here, and if he doesn't, we'll carry it on and do what we got to do. But remember, truth and faith. We have those two, and they do not. And you can tell they don't have truth. You know that. But you can tell they don't have faith either because they've got an army surrounding them in Washington, D.C. And they're trying to make one of the most dysfunctional cities a state. Not just dysfunctional cities, dysfunctional countries as well. I mean, Puerto Rico, my goodness. That's what we need. But anyway, and I won't even add my disclaimer in there. Not necessary. Mona's back on the job, folks. Mona Salama, at Mona Salama _ is back on the scene. And we have a guest tonight at 8:30. So that'll be interesting to see if I can knock some of the rust off and kind of be able to operate in that environment. We'll find out. I don't know whether I want to go to Steve Bannon or I want to knock some of this steak off this bone. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to knock some of this hard meat, this steak, hard meat. That wasn't good, man. Strike that. But there's a couple different things I want to talk about. One, Jack sent me an email earlier in the week about Ashley Babbitt and her killing being shrouded in mystery. We're going to go there, but I want to get this one out first. And this is the one that is in the chat room. Damn. In the video 2 page of SteelCityResistance.com, warning for America, the 4 steps of Marxist takeover were activated in 2020. This is absolutely imperative that we all understand this because what's been going on, I'm not a big believer in America just follows the lead when it comes to the bumblings of Europe. You know that. I don't buy that. There's too many people in this country like us that don't give a damn about Europe, and we don't give a damn about their trends. And I'm all about the freedom fries, and that's just me. You've heard me say that countless times. I've chased people from the show for that. So what? I don't care. So I didn't necessarily panic at the color revolution, and I'm still not. But there is a new twist to this. A couple of new twists. Antifa is one of them. COVID's another. White people that hate themselves is another. Those people are suicidal, and we need to straighten them right out. I mean, they're mostly college educated. Jim Hoft comes out with a pretty good article today. Back in July, Scott McKay at American Spectator wrote an amazing piece on the 4 stages of Marxist takeover. McKay's report is based on the words and warnings of Soviet defector Yuri Bezmenov. You remember him. I've played many a tape of him. It's been 7 months since the report was published, and the situation today is even more dire than predicted. Even McKay would never have predicted the antics of the Marxist left during the 2020 elections. The Marxist takeover of America is well on its way. Here are the 4 steps, and I'm going to summarize somewhat. The first goal of revolutionary propaganda, particularly the Marxist variety, is to demoralize. And I want you to look at these steps and look at yourself. Because the only way we can fight it is if we know what it is. It's to depress you and make you believe your civilization is lost. Once you succumb to that, you are, in the words of Ming the Merciless, satisfied with less. Why do you think ordinary white people are so willing to apologize for the sins of their ancestors and to confess to being racist without even knowing it? Why do you think corporate America is blindly endorsing a Marxist revolutionary organization that openly declares war on the nuclear family? That's demoralization, and according to Bezmenov, it is the first step in engineered societal collapse. Well, we're there. What's the second step? Destabilization. Bezmenov describes that as a rapid decline in the structure of a society. Listen up, folks. It's economy. It's military. Look at the losers that are in the spotlight in our military. General Austin, General Milley. Isn't General Milley about 50 pounds overweight? Austin, too. What is it with these jelly rolls? We've discussed in this space the unquestionable impetus on the part of Democrats to keep the economy as hamstrung as possible with COVID-19 shutdowns, and those continue despite a precipitous decline in death rates as testing ramps up across the country. It's clear the virus is no longer a significant threat to the health of Americans who don't already have serious medical issues, and yet COVID hysteria is increasing rather than decreasing. That's a phenomenon I don't understand. I don't totally believe it either. I have seen some pushback on this, and I love it, and I join it. Just Wednesday, the Ivy League shut down all its sporting events planned for the fall semester. Well, that's the Ivy League. They're communist. But still an absurd decision that is nonetheless likely to be copied by other universities dominated by leftist political. Don't ever hire an American college graduate that's under 50, folks. Just don't do it. They're so smart, these people. I mean, they are so smart. Hell, they think Joe Biden got elected president. They're so smart. They think only the police should have guns, and in the same breath, they hate the police. Fry them like bacon. The third stage is crisis. And there's a lot more to that second stage. You can go back and check it out. The third stage is crisis, the catalyzing event that builds on the first 2 stages to bring on the change the revolutionaries are looking for. You know, they almost thought they had it with that fake insurrection. They thought they had it. Looking for a crisis, take your pick. We barely even remember the fact that we just had only the 3rd presidential impeachment in American history half a year ago, a constitutional crisis that was wholly and completely manufactured directly out of thin air. We progressed immediately from that to Wuhan, which was unquestionably a manufactured crisis. Not that the virus itself isn't deadly, to a certain portion of the population. But if you think the panic and destruction it's caused doesn't smack of manufacture, then it's clear you've been demoralized. And then the George Floyd riots, remember that? With Keith Ellis in Muslim Minnesota, hid the videotape and only allowed the part out where the evil white man was murdering the black good man. and the paroxysm, that's the first time I ever saw that word, folks. Paroxysms of violence and virtual signaling, those have brought on, complete with the current campaign to bowdlerize, what the hell's up with these words? Bowdlerize American history and culture in an increasingly and indiscriminate fashion. All right, I'm gonna do something here. I'm just gonna throw this in the chat room so you don't think I'm bull pooping. Because what happened to my chat room? All right, hold on. God damn. All right, there it is. Now, we're going to put that in there just so you can see what I'm talking about, what I'm trying to deal with. All right, so what's the fourth stage? Normalization. As in a new normal. The statues and monuments are gone. The ball games are out, or at least you aren't allowed in the stadium to watch them, and you've got to watch them on TV interspersed with commercial spots and in-game messaging pushing whatever memes and narratives the ESPNs and NBCs of the world and their Madison Avenue partners wish to implant in your mind. Your severely weakened mind by this point. The schools have purged American history and culture. The universal basic income checks have replaced your job, which you can't do because the small business where you used to work has gone under thanks to the virus. Let me rephrase that. Thanks to the Democrat governor and the feckless, worthless Republican Party in the states. And Biden is president for a little while until it's clear he's incapacitated per the 25th Amendment, and then somebody else that you didn't vote for is in charge of the country. They are now. Anybody who thinks Barack Obama and Valerie Jarrett are not running this country are demoralized. Out goes Kerensky, in comes who knows what. Scott McKay ends his history lesson with this nugget. This was back in July, before Democrats locked doors for 2 days to manufacture ballots and drove in vans of ballots at 3:30 a.m. and pulled out suitcases of ballots hidden under tables to steal the landslide 2020 election from President Donald Trump. Let's hope your confidence none of this can happen is well placed. And let's hope Bezmenov was a crank like people think G. Edward Griffin is. But just to be sure, let's make damn sure Biden and the Democrats take an historic beating in November. We don't want to find out what's behind the curtain in Biden's basement. Too many nasty things are already peeking out at us from there. The revolution is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. Pray to God that it's not too late for America, and plan accordingly. That was just something that I had to knock out, and perfect timing because it's tough on a co-host when you got to do that right in front of them. But it was something I felt was necessary to share because it's true. I mean, all the things that are going on, the difference is none of the Trump signs are down on my street. The difference is 2 words that were penned by Sundance at the conservative treehouse: cold anger. And before long, cold anger will turn into hot anger, and some knucklehead is going to do something that should have been done a long time ago, but wasn't, and probably for the better because we're not as masculine of a society as we once were. I mean, that's clear. It's sad as hell, but it's clear, and it's on purpose. But can you imagine 50 years ago if a governor of a state killed 1 out of 5 jobs in that state, and a year later he's still walking around alive? I mean, this doesn't happen in masculine societies. I mean, our country needs to regroup. We do. We need to ask less permission, accept less tyranny, react more energetically when confronted by tyranny from the minority. And the Democrats are the clear minority. Even in published polls, this whole thing is a criminal enterprise. This is a crime family. Both of the parties. It's a uniparty crime family. It's the difference between, Sammy the Bull said it the best. These guys are the Columbos. These guys are the Lucchese's. The FBI is the Gambinos. And here I am in Pittsburgh. I guess I'm with the LaRocas. I don't know, but it's sickening. It really is. And there's some things that are going on that are very interesting. In New York, some Democrats are starting to get a little upset with their governor. New York Democrats hold an outdoor press conference calling for charges against Governor Cuomo. New York Assembly member Ron Kim, a Democrat, and Jessica Ramos, another Democrat, held a rally at City Hall on Wednesday, today. Kim was joined by fellow elected officials, advocates, and the family members of seniors to announce a key list of demands from the Cuomo administration. The victims want justice, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, there's no question, man. This is something that I hope it spreads to Pennsylvania and Michigan. I think they should all pay, even though I have a feeling what this is all about. I'm pretty sure that this is all about keeping the federal criminals out of the spotlight. I'm pretty sure that's what we're doing here. And Cuomo and Newsom, you've seen earlier that Newsom is having problems as well. These guys have fallen as well. They should. And I want Tom Wolf. Boy, they need to teach Pennsylvania a lesson. You know, it's a damn shame with the mayor of this city, this town. They got a guy running for mayor who's running to the left of the mayor now. I mean, he's got the endorsement of SCIU, of the Purple People Eaters. And he'll probably get elected because Pittsburgh loves this, I guess. They love being looked at by the rest of the world as the criminal parasites they are, the ones that run the government. And you know that's what you are. I mean, it's your legacy. It's going to be in history books. I mean, if they don't destroy them, if we allow this to happen, which I don't think we will. I don't. I think we let our guard down a little bit. I know I did. I thought there was no damn way that anyone, you always are told the only way they can steal an election is if it's close. Well, it wasn't even close. They were that brazen, and the Supreme Court is that corrupt, and the state courts are that corrupt. They all ought to be recalled. They ought to be taken down. I mean, we need to do it in an organized fashion. We don't need to do it in the Marxist fashion, because that's what they're trying to do too. That's what you got to understand. The Marxists are trying to regroup too. They're trying to reset everything. And the way you do that is you have a bunch of freaking Supreme Court justices that are too cowardly to do what they're supposed to do. And that's exactly what the hell happened with them. And it was by design. Somebody's pulling the strings so they can reset this thing. Because as soon as they reset the Supreme Court, there's not going to be another Supreme Court. Wait till the next false flag and there's a mass casualty event somewhere. We'll see how these soldiers react. I know I'm talking crazy, but I mean, you got to look at the writing on the wall. I mean, you got to look at what's going on and then, look at that through history. So, all right, there it is. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking at this thing. I got some things coming up. I'm trying to, okay, there's that. Got to get ready for the guest, folks. I haven't done this for a while, but that's the last time. I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just went on. But anyway, I want to thank, once again, I want to thank all of our patrons, and I want to thank Mona for, I contacted her the other day. I realized that I hadn't said anything to her since I sent everybody that works with us an email, and it had a lot of details in it, kind of like the Sunday night show I did when I first came back from the hospital. And I thought that I had shared too much, and maybe, it was like too much, but I don't know what happened. But anyway, I contacted her again, and she was like, yeah, I was just waiting for you to see when we were going to start operating again. And then she's working for a newspaper or a magazine down in Florida. She's a political reporter, and she said, look, let's wait till after the impeachment fiasco. And I was like, sure, we'll do that. And a week or two went by, and she contacted me and asked if I wanted this guest, and I do. It's going to be an interesting guest, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it should be. We're in some crazy times, and we really need to work together. I mean, that's what I mean. And when we get into the second half, hopefully I'm going to be able to get through some of this. I wasn't positive that we were going to have a guest right away earlier when I was putting the show together. So you always have to have backup material, and I might need it. I might hit this button and nothing might happen. That's happened before. It wouldn't be the first time. But that being said, I had to get a lot of material, and it always seems to happen that whenever I have too much material, that's when I have the best material. And I can't tell you how many magnanimous stories went by the wayside because of that. And, it was one of the reasons we started beefing up the tie. It's one of the reasons we went to 2 hours. It used to be a 1 hour show for the longest time. But at any rate, we will see how that pans out a little bit later when we start getting into the second hour and I start looking at the different tapes and stories that we have left, because there's a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot going on internationally, and there's a lot going on politically nationally. And really, with this administration, you cannot rule out anything being international, because the Bidens are an international bank for some of these rogue states throughout the world. Ladies and gentlemen, political analyst Jennifer Kerns is host of the new nationally syndicated show All American Radio with Jennifer Kerns, and publisher of allamericannews.com. She has served as a GOP strategist, spokeswoman for the California Republican Party. Boy, that's got to be a lonely job. Strategist for the Colorado recalls over the Second Amendment, and writer-researcher for the most watched U.S. presidential debate of the 2016 election cycle for Fox News. Welcome to the show, Jennifer Kerns.
Hey, thank you so much for joining me. The California Republican Party gets more comments, and I should have gotten hazard pay for that, that's for sure.
I'm Hutch Bailey, by the way, and welcome to Cold War Radio. You're my first guest for a while, for about 6 months. We had a little break, and I thank you for coming on the program. Now, you've got Fox News, One American News Network, Newsmax. They're all, and not only that, but smaller shows and podcasts like this one are in the Fox there, in the crosshairs rather, as these Democrats with a Marxist flavor are pushing a conservative media purge. Jennifer, I mean, this is something that's concerning, and apparently it concerns you as well.
Yeah, this is pretty shocking. One of the first agenda items of the new Congress is they've been questioning, and it started today with some congressional hearings, they've been questioning cable platforms about carrying Fox News, Newsmax, and OANN. So the U.S. Senate formed a committee called the Prevention of the Dissemination of Misinformation Act. So you know what that's about, right? That's about the November 2020 election adjudication all over again, right? They just can't seem to move on. And here's here's what's sort of frightening. The lawmakers on Capitol Hill have been sending cable companies questions as their, overseer, asking them questions like, what steps did you take prior to, on Election Day and following Election Day, as well as in the lead up to January 6th, to monitor, respond to, and reduce the spread of misinformation. Also,
just that word, just the word misinformation, Jennifer. I mean, can you say what you call? What was the name of that committee again? I mean, you talk about something right out of the manifesto.
Right, 100%. So, and here, get this. This is the House Energy and Commerce Committee that is doing this questioning, and it really reeks of like McCarthy era questioning. And they actually, I think one of the more frightening questions they asked of these cable companies is, are you planning to continue carrying Fox News, OANN, and Newsmax on your platforms, both now and in the future when they get renewed? And then they followed up with a question, and they said, and if so, why? Now, these are private companies, and government is not supposed to really intervene in private enterprise in this country. And here you have a congressional committee asking cable providers if they're planning to continue to carry Fox News and Newsmax, which has had a ratings boon since the November 2020 elections. And they're asking them why they are going to carry these. And this is pretty widespread. The congressional committee actually sent these questionings to some pretty big players. These are companies like Comcast, AT&T, Uverse, Spectrum, Dish Network, Verizon, Cox Communications, Altice. And then it also really spills over into the digital platform groups such as Roku, Amazon. Now, we know Amazon just dropped Parler off of their servers. So we know that Amazon is a weak target as well. They also sent the letter to Apple, Google, and Hulu. Again, these are all digital companies that distribute cable programming. So they're really trying to go after, you notice the names that are missing on that. There's no MSNBC, there's no CNN, there's no CNBC. They're, of course, going after all of the center-right cable networks.
Yeah, and I mean, if you couple that with the new trend that people in the financial sector are starting to do the same thing with environmentalist regulations and left wing whackery, and they're starting to say it's going to be tough to borrow money for businesses that aren't towing the Green New Deal line. And when you look at this I'm not sure if Ajit Pai, he was the head FCC commissioner, but I don't know if with the administration changing, if the makeup of the FCC commission has changed or not. It used to be Republicans were one up on Democrats, and Ajit Pai was the commissioner. It says the FCC commissioner blasts Democrats for pressuring the providers. So it looks like, that's part of the executive branch, right? This is a little weird. You've got
that. Yeah, and good for them. I mean, look, this shows the importance, really, of political appointments. Even if you have a changeover in the White House administration, this shows you just how important it was that President Trump made those appointments to the FCC, just as it should make a difference that he made so many appointments to the U.S. Supreme Court, though we haven't exactly seen the benefit of that just yet, have we? But this is important to have this oversight from the FCC. Here's the most interesting thing I think about this, though. Think about, for the last 35 years, the Democrats have railed against the Republican Party because a Republican president, Ronald Reagan, was the one who ended the Fairness Doctrine, which was a law that had been put in place way back in 1945. That required the broadcast networks, people like NBC, ABC, and CBS, to conform and show both sides of the political issue. So if you have one political candidate on, you have to at least offer the other side the opposite, opposite and opposing opinion. Now, look, President Reagan did away with that in the 1980s, and liberals went through the roof. And they've been talking about that for 30 plus years, how we need to bring back the Fairness Doctrine because both sides need to be heard, right? Well, we now see in 2021, they actually never really meant that. What they really meant was they only want their side to be heard.
Right. And you look at Ronald Reagan got rid of it in 1980, and American economics got rid of it shortly after that, when Air America, when nobody listened to it. I was around during that time, I know. But so I want to ask you, talk a little bit about your radio show, because I always love seeing people do this. I think it's a medium that is intimate. I think it's unlike television or video where you have to, quote unquote, give it your undivided attention. In the radio, you can do more than one thing and still listen. I think it's an underrated source, and I don't think it's going anywhere.
I would agree with you. And I think with the passing of Rush Limbaugh, people are really like revisiting radio. What is this medium? I have a Sunday night show, which I'm so proud of, because I used to listen to, 15 years ago. Remember when Matt Drudge had a Sunday night radio show, and he called it his Sunday night fireside chat. And so I feel that I'm, having a Sunday night fireside chat with people on All American Radio. We're so proud. We just picked up Los Angeles, Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino in Southern California. We're also on the air in Denver and Colorado Springs. We're also on in Memphis, Tennessee, and beyond. And it's just great to talk to people about all American issues. I focus mostly on, the White House, the new administration, of what that means to all Americans. And we also focus on, getting America back to work post COVID-19. That's a big passion of mine and a big concern of mine. And so that's sort of some of the stuff we talk about on air on Sunday night. I'm also proud to announce we just launched, and it's sort of in beta site form, allamericannews.com, and that's also a site people can go to. They can listen to the radio show. There's episodes up on allamericannews.com. And we also have the best videos from everywhere else, so Fox News, Newsmax, and other places. And then we also have original content and contributors that are some of the best names across the country that you would want to hear from. And I'm a big believer in having doers on my platform. I always say the best people are those who've worked on campaigns, run on campaigns, have won elections, because those are the people. We've been out there for the last 15 years. I was a press secretary for 15 years in some very tough blue states. And I was able to win by talking to people, and that's what we try to do at allamericannews.com.
Hey, well, like you said, you were with the California GOP, and Ronald Reagan certainly made a dent in the country from being from that same team. So it's not always going to be the same. I mean, these things go back and forth, and you got to have the infrastructure.
They do, and most people don't really realize that in Los Angeles County alone, there are more than 1 million registered Republicans, and that's more than, some states' entire population. So I would say, states like California are not lost. Look at what's going on right now with the recall of Gavin Newsom. I mean, who would have thought? This is a guy who's basically like Houdini. He has made so many mistakes in his last 25 years in his career, but he always comes out smelling like a rose. I don't think it's going to happen this time. I really think they've got him with his back against the wall. That's going to be interesting. There's also an interesting recall also coming up right behind that, and that is a recall petition starting next week against L.A. radical DA George Gascon.
He's horrible.
It turns out, he's horrible. He's socialist, and he was the ringleader of this whole George Soros radical DA program, where they ran a bunch of radical far-left DAs to get into power, and then offer things like, no bail and release of felons and all sorts of horrible things. Well, the voters in L.A. are now saying, look, you were sort of disingenuous when you ran. You got swept in on the BLM movement and some of these other fads, but we really didn't know what you stood for. And now that you're starting to put those into place, starting to send memos out to the police on not arresting people, we don't really like that as an electorate, and we're going to recall you. So that'll be interesting to watch, too. A lot of interesting things going on out west.
Yeah, there are. And, I've got several Californians that listen to this program. They're listening to you right now, and I'm sure they're feeling good about what you're talking about. I am. But, whenever I hear Gavin Newsom, The thing I like the most about him is every time I see Donald Trump Jr. come out with Kimberly Guilfoyle, I hope that Gavin Newsom's watching. You know, it's like you
yeah, it's so funny. Most people forget. Yeah, most people forget that they were married once upon a time, and it's funny. When I was a press secretary out there, I was the only press secretary, Republican or Democrat, who ever beat Gavin Newsom at the ballot box in his 28-year history of public service. And I'm so proud of that. It was in 2008, so it was a long time ago. He hasn't lost really since then. And he was married to Kimberly Guilfoyle, and he was the mayor of San Francisco. And it just so happened that was the Prop 8 campaign. You might remember that, marriage versus gay marriage.
Yeah, and then the courts.
Yes, and the other person who was the DA of San Francisco at the time was none other than Kamala Harris, who also never got beaten at the ballot box except in that race. And I'm very proud of our team for doing that. And of course, as you said, they ended up taking that to the United States Supreme Court and sort of running around the voters of California. But those two have come up together, and boy, I think Gavin's not going to have the successful year that Kamala has.
Hopefully she won't either. Would you mind taking a call, Jennifer?
Sure.
Sean from near Escondido, California. Go ahead. Your question for Jennifer. Ms. Kerns.
Hey, so this is my question for you, Jennifer. We have rhinos coming out of the woodworks now, and I really don't have faith in the California GOP. I really don't. Now, what do you think the odds are if Richard Grinnell, I've been hearing rumblings of him wanting to run, if this recall is successful, what do you think of the prospects of him being able to win over a rhino are?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this question. I have it on good authority that Richard Grinnell will eventually run. I think he is, I can't say too much, but I suspect that he is preparing some things. I think he cares deeply. I know he cares deeply about California. And here is the game changer. If Richard Grinnell gets into this race, he is the one that has the MAGA support. I call it the MAGA caucus. He really has the support. He was such a team player for the Trump administration. He went to Berlin when they needed a German ambassador. He came back. He was the acting DNI. He went wherever he was needed, and he's a real team player. And President Trump, know this, I've heard this from a senior source close to Rick Grinnell. President Trump has already committed that if Rick runs, he'll be coming out to California and doing events for Rick. That is a major game changer. That's something that the other candidates, John Cox, Kevin Faulconer, those guys will not have. And again, like I said, look at the magnitude and the sheer number of Republicans in the state of California. That will make a difference because a lot of people still will follow what Donald Trump said.
Thank God. Thank you for answering that question. That's all I got.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for calling.
On the headlines.
Peace out.
Yep. All right. Oh, that's outstanding. I mean, that's really good news. You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. The president's going to California. Hopefully he can keep us up to date in the future on that. That's something that this audience is very, well, I should say that most of the people I talk to in the audience are very upbeat when it comes to Rick Grinnell. I think he proved his mettle time and time again over the last year or two. I mean, I can't think, especially with a man like President Trump, who unfortunately surrounded himself with so many Judases. And I know most of them came in nice clothes, but I mean, you could just peel them off. There's so few that, in my opinion, were loyal. I mean, it's just that's demoralizing to see that. That's I've told the audience several times. You know, my advice right now is, don't even worry about the Democrats. We know who they are. We got to clean up our team. We can't have all these people on our side of the wire here.
Oh, 100%. Look, here is why the rank and file, the base, love Rick Grinnell. He's always out on TV defending conservative views, conservative values. He was out defending President Trump, even in the wake of the January 6th protest, pointing out that, you know, look, there were 800,000 people in D.C. that day, and, you know, less than 1,000 reached the Capitol. So you do the math. I'm a journalist major, so I don't do math like that.
Right.
But it's
I mean,
percent.
Let's look up insurrection in the dictionary and then see if it equals 4 dead, because it doesn't.
Right. And look. Speaking of Capitol Hill, they're having hearings this week on the Capitol insurrection, and they're going through the security and what happened and the groups that were involved. Where are the congressional hearings on the insurrection that was perpetrated against the American people last summer? The BLM riots, the Antifa riots, the
what about Kavanaugh?
Cities?
Kavanaugh.
100%. Yeah,
I mean,
Kavanaugh,
they were in Congress, in the halls of Congress. Yeah.
Absolutely. And look, here's what's worse. And I'm not saying that what happened on January 6th, that small percentage of the protesters went in, was okay. But I'll tell you this. I think what happened last summer was even worse. And here's why. The U.S. Capitol was able to be cleaned up, put back together, and business proceeded in 3 hours. The American people don't have that privilege. The American businesses that were burnt to the ground last summer, they didn't get put back together in 3 hours. They weren't these precious, U.S. representatives. People were scared last summer, and this went on for 120 days where our leaders didn't say anything as American businesses burned, as people were shouted down in the street. The glasses on their sidewalk cafe tables were broken. They were run out of restaurants, and that is the real travesty. And nobody ever gave reparations and help to those businesses. They're probably still waiting on their insurance checks to rebuild.
Oh, but you
and
just
I
wait.
think that was the real insurrection.
You wait for the COVID-19 relief bills, and those leftist cities are going to get bailed out. Believe me, this isn't the first time. Not the first time. Probably won't be the last. But you know what? Why don't you tell everybody where they can get in touch with you? I see you have a Facebook page, website, and any final comments you have. Thank you very much for coming on.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to come back anytime, talk politics, and especially what's going on in California is always interesting. Sounds like your listeners agree. People can go to allamericannews.com, allamericannews.com. I'm also on social media at allamericanjen. I've been shadow banned for years, so just go directly to my news site and sign up to be on my list and things like that, and we'll make sure we keep people updated.
All right, outstanding. I'd give you my Twitter account, but I got whacked it last September, and I'm not on there anymore. But thanks for coming on.
It's a high compliment.
I think so, too. That's why I mentioned it. But thanks for offering to come back. We sure hope you will. Jennifer Kerns, ladies and gentlemen. All right. A representative republic, not a democracy. Cold War Radio celebrates and defends this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., your host. Ward, Sal, and Jack are my wingmen, and your live calls let it all make sense. Join us, Cold War Radio, live on Spreaker and forever on all podcast platforms.
One America News Network, your leading source for the latest breaking national and international news. With nearly 4 times as many headlines as the other networks. Straight news, no speculation, no opinion, just the facts. Complete coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One America News Network, your source for credible news.
The very First Amendment in the Constitution of the United States of America gives us the freedom to express our opinions and ideas in many ways. Speech can be weak, speech can be strong. Speech can be words, speech can be song. Speech can breed love, speech can breed hate. Speech can be poor, speech can be great. There are so many things that speech can be, but above all else, speech must be free. This message is brought to you by the NAB Education Foundation, the Broadcast Education Association, McCormick Foundation, and this station.
President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Silver Star Medal to Peter Lara, Sergeant First Class, U.S. Army, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action against an enemy of the United States while serving as platoon leader of 2nd Platoon, Company C, 2nd Battalion, 1st Infantry Regiment, Task Force 2-1, 172nd Stryker Brigade Combat Team during combat operations in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom on 19 November 2005 while deployed to Mosul, Iraq. Sergeant First Class Lara, despite being gravely wounded, continued to lead his men in an assault against a fortified terrorist safe house. His actions are directly responsible for the destruction of a terrorist cell and allowing for the rapid evacuation of his wounded platoon members. His men are alive today because of the sacrifice and heroism he demonstrated that morning. Sergeant First Class Lara's courage, leadership, and complete disregard for his own wounds are in keeping with the highest tradition of the military service and reflect great credit upon himself, Task Force 2-1 Infantry, the 172nd Stryker Brigade Combat Team, and the United States Army. Sergeant First Class Lara, job well done, and God bless America.
How dare you! How dare you! How dare you continue to look away! People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you!
AOC, how I explain her? She really make my brain hurt. She always need a Twitter page to save her. I'm really sick of her. She always spitting gibberish. I wasn't gonna dish you till you talked about my militants. You said my veterans are better off just sitting in line outside the VA when the waiting has been killing us. We wanna visit a private doctor or physician, but you say the VA isn't broken, so don't go fix it in. Girl, you tripping? You go tell that to the veterans. That in front of the veterans are fed without the medicine. This is nonsense, it's not about law or politics. This is for all my veterans sweating out in the hottest. If you really are that somebody who never went and fought the sick, how could you ever talk about medical? We ought to get. I see you move your lips, but it never make no sense. You need to play of our documentary on Netflix. Cause like CBS, AOC don't know ABCs. VETs are not 1, 2, 3, we just be sing. So you can cut the script that you read for the public. And with a puppet in front of us fronting it really make me sick of AOC. Yeah, you know me. Sick of AOC. Yeah, you know me. You sick of AOC. Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, the Republican Party.
University.
Right.
Also, he doesn't really say that she couldn't identify Ukraine on a map. He insinuates it's just a petty attempt to put her down, right? Is that what this is?
Of course. Of course, he's just trying to demean her, and obviously it's false. And look, he also knows deep in his heart that Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, an administration defined by ignorance of the world, and so that's partly him playing to their base and playing to their audience. The credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump. That wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one, and y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling, even though my
your math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading. Your geography, knowing other countries, sipping your latte,
all those lines on the map.
Only them elitists know where Ukraine is. Sorry, I apologize. But by the way,
oh my God!
But you know what? But it was Rick's fault. I blame Rick. But in all honesty, blame you know what
Rick.
NPR should
Why
do?
not? Sorry, hold on. Wait.
Can I tell
give
you
me a second. Hold on. Sorry. That was good. Sorry, Rick. That was a good one. I needed that. Okay, so listen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, live from Pittsburgh Studio number 1, it's Cold War Radio. Here's your host, Hutch Bailey Jr.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. I just thought of something. When this idiot, Rick White, is talking about President Trump and a physical crane, I'm thinking, I'll bet you all of President Trump's children, including Barron, could jump up in a 300-ton crane, snatch something, traverse to wherever they got to go, and drop it on a pinpoint on a dime. And Rick White wouldn't even know how to start the damn thing. I just thought about that. It was just something that, I'm thinking about this and I'm going, I know Don Jr. talked about growing up, driving D9s, operating D9 dozers. Damn, that had to be fun. I did it, but I wasn't a kid. Think about them. Everything on them things is heavy. Same as tanks. You change a generator on a tank, boy, you need 2 hands. I ain't lying. And one of them, you better have a glove on. A district judge has issued an indefinite ban on Joe Biden's 100-day deportation moratorium. U.S. District Judge Drew Tipton had previously issued a 2-week restraining order on Biden's plan to stop most deportations, but extended it on Tuesday. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton had argued that Biden's plan violated federal law and an agreement that Texas be consulted before changes like that are made. Fox News reports that the agreement means that DHS must give Texas 180 days notice of any proposed change on any matter that would reduce enforcement or increase the number of removable or inadmissible aliens in the United States. So that is a good deal. And I think this is the reason, one of the reasons why it's not the end of the world right now. I think there are not as many idiots as the idiots in the media would portray in the country. I just don't think there are. I think when you start saying you're not going to deport anybody, and like our guest said, when the Los Angeles County District Attorney tells you that illegal aliens are not going to be illegal anymore, people, they cringe. It doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. You don't want to get bum rushed in your house. I'm still offended at press 1 for English myself, but that's just me, because I never got to press 3 for English when I was in Korea, but that's just the way that works. Where are we at there? There we are.
Well, maybe not. Hey.
There we go.
Hey, well, maybe we aren't.
No, we're not. I don't know.
I didn't mess with anything.
All right, so I got some technical difficulties I'm going to figure out here. I think, is that on over there?
Yes, sir.
It's okay, that's on. We got some kind of technical difficulties going on in the studio. I see. That's part of it right there. I think I hear you over there.
You do. Now you do. Well, I'm going to add in here, truly we are not a minority. We're split 50-50, if not at 60-40, Hutch. There's a lot of people, even on the blue side, that believe that illegal people that should not be here. I mean, that is a big issue for a lot of people, even on the blue side, because they know it potentially takes away jobs. They know it disincentivizes a lot of people. They know that there was crime associated with it. Name your issue. There's a lot of issues with that.
No doubt about it. Let's go to the phones. Ken and King George, I hear you over there. Had to look up. What's going on, man?
Hey, brother. No, you playing that clip with those 2 clowns from CNN, right?
Yeah,
now the job that I work in, okay, I would like to give either one of these 2 morons a micrometer, not a digital one, an old analog one.
Oh, you to mic it out, huh?
Or a torque wrench, and say, set this thing to the right setting, you dumbass.
Right.
I
hear him talking about the lines on the map. I want to see him shoot a back azimuth in the desert at night. I can do that. I can do it. You know what I mean?
Well, back in the day, yeah, part of me making, advancing in rank, I used to know how to calculate a fire control solution for an incoming projectile, and it was a lot of trigonometry and this. I probably couldn't do it now because I haven't done it in a long time. But
yeah. So what'd you think about the guest tonight, Ken?
Oh, she was amazing. It's glad to see. I'm glad to see that people in California are finally starting to, wake up. And
Me too. And let me say that was a great call by Sean.
Videos of people that are out in California that are, once Trump got elected and they saw what he was doing, and they were stepping up, and a lot of these guys, they're not too crazy about this whole, people rushing over the border illegally, and they were speaking up. Hell, they even had protests in Hollywood, and I don't know. I'm waiting for the rest of the country to wake the hell up, I guess until it happens in their backyard, which
it already does happen in their backyard, Ken. They just don't want to.
I know. But they're not paying attention.
They're paying attention. They're paying attention. Some people want to burn that place down, not in the good way. They know what's going on. They know the deal.
Well, I'm saying that it happened in my backyard. We had an illegal. This happened probably about 6 years ago.
Hey, maybe your new governor is going to solve some issues there, right?
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah, he did. He took out capital punishment. Did he sign that?
No, I'm talking about the new governor, the person that's going to run.
Oh, okay. Who's that? I did say this
the
other day.
Well, do some research, find out. I'm not totally prepared, but I know there will be someone running. It's a woman. I know that, and I can't recall her name right now because I've got technical difficulties.
Are you talking Amanda Chase?
I could be.
Okay, so all right. So Terry McAuliffe, he's looking to throw. He was already governor for 4 years before, Governor Coon Man. Well, I got to go back. I know today Larry O'Connor was finally on the radio. He's had Michael Palka fill in for him the last couple of days, but he's going to be covering CPAC or whatever. But he was supposed to have an interview with the grand poobah here, the Republican Party.
Yeah, well, let's just go back a little bit in time here in December and just get this out of the way. The GOP State Central Committee, some spooked by the notion that Senator Amanda F. Chase, a Republican from Chesterfield, might snag the party nod in a primary, approved the nomination method in a virtual Facebook meeting. This is from December 2020. After 5 hours of debate and parliamentary gymnastics, and this is from the Washington Post. Chase has long threatened to run as an independent if the party opted for a convention, and after the vote, she confirmed she will go through with that plan. Quote, this is a good quote, Ken. Let me finish this up here because it's important. The dysfunctional party leadership picked a method of nomination that does not allow the majority of the people to participate. Hear that? The majority of the people. Chase told in an interview from rural Augusta County where she was campaigning at a gun show. I will now run as an independent against their candidate who's picked in a convention, but the Republican Party will be the one that split the vote, not Amanda Chase. So, again, this is a person probably that we want to keep our eyes on who's going to be standing up for 2A. But go ahead. I'll let you finish now.
Trust me. And that's why I want to go back, because I know a lot of times I can go back later on and Larry will pull out, like if he interviews somebody, he'll pull that little section out of his podcast and that gets posted separately. And they were going to talk about this whole convention thing, and he was going to talk to, God, I can't remember the guy's name. That's, basically the head of RNC or the GOP party here in Virginia. And I wanted to get his take on it, but unfortunately, when I got home, the neighbor, we were out playing, it was warm today. So it was let's go out and play on the tractor and fix the road because, with all the snow and the rain and every other type of precipitation you can think of around here. You know, we live on a private road, and somebody's got to maintain it. And since myself and the neighbor are the only two that have tractors, we do it, you know. So,
well, her name, Amanda Chase, is Trumpin' Heels. Trumpin' Heels. I mean, that alone is going to make me vote for her. I don't care who the RNC or GOP. I'm kidding. No, do your research.
Trust me, I want to vote for. And you know, when she started talking about, you know, going independent, you know, running on an independent ticket, I'm like, you know.
All right, Ken, get some final comments in here. I got a lot of stuff I got to get through here. I'm giving you as much time as I can, brother.
Oh, yeah. Nah, man, you know, the weather's supposed to be great around here the next couple of days, and finally fired up the grill for the first time in a while, so, yeah, man, things are looking up.
Yeah, they are. You're right about that. Sun's coming out. All right, thanks, Ken. Always appreciate it. Make sure you call back again. We'll get right back to the phones in just a minute. But first, I want to go to Steve Bannon. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Sal is in the house, in case you didn't notice. Sounding good over there on that XML microphone or MXL, whatever it says on there. My first microphones, by the way. Good mics, no doubt. Got that good sound coming out of that Tube MP preamp. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, that are our patrons. You're the ones that made the equipment possible. But back to Steve Bannon. One of the biggest clips I've ever listened to with Steve was when he took Mitt Romney to the woodshed and his whole family, as was necessary at the time. Well, he's getting ready to do it to Liz Cheney. Let's listen. Okay, let's not listen. Let's do this, and now let's listen.
It shocks me. I found it hard for her to disgrace herself anymore, but let's play this and you can hear yourself.
Conference in which you're chair of ought to do to make sure we're not trivializing or minimizing or is exhausted by what we're doing here today, what you're speaking about?
No, I think that it's a good question, Roger. I think there are many things. I think, first of all, certainly the potential of a 9/11 style commission. I think that's very important. I think there are many aspects to what happened on the 6th and in the days, weeks, and months leading up to it that have to be investigated. And I think having a commission with the formality that we saw in the 9/11 commission, with the bipartisan participation that we saw in the 9/11 commission, that's very important. A commission with subpoena power, a commission that really is able, and I think it should have retired officials on it. I don't think you should have current officials on the commission. I really think the model that was used in the aftermath of 9/11 is a good one. So I think that's important. I think there will be criminal investigations that are going on and that will be ongoing. But I think while those things are happening, it's very important for us to ignore the temptation to look away. And it's very important, especially for us as Republicans, to make clear that we aren't the party of white supremacy.
Okay, here's what we got to do. I agree with Liz Cheney. Here's what I recommend. The 9/11 style. By the way, here's what I think we do, Liz. Here's what I think we do as a starter. Let's go back to the 9/11 Commission. And what I'd like to do is let's unredact. Let's get the full, everything online that people can look at about Saudi Arabia's relationship. You said bipartisan. It was a bipartisan cover-up.
Yeah, right.
And I disagree with my great friend
Bush
Mayor Giuliani about this.
Bush sent them all home.
First off, I want to go back to the 9/11 Commission. Let's go back to the 9/11 Commission. You talk about criminal charges. Let's start with a full and frank vetting of your father, who I consider a war criminal. And the reason I consider a war criminal, he lied. He lied and misrepresented the intelligence. Everybody understands that now, right? We spent trillions of dollars over there.
We didn't see that coming.
Lives either killed in combat in Iraq, right? After the 9/11 Commission, he used it, this phony intelligence to go into Iraq, trillions of dollars. We're still there, right? Another genius move. I want to go back to the 9/11 Commission. I want to get to the bottom of actually what happened. And let's get all the pages unredacted, not just the pages should have been in the commission report. Let's get all the background information. Let's get up online. Let's get all, and then let's see who was involved and who knew about it. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but there are no coincidences. Let's fully vet the Saudis. You've got the families are still in lawsuits, and the guys are trying to, the Saudis and the royal family are trying to dodge. So yeah, let's do that. And here's the thing about her, and I'm bringing board. Here's the thing about her commission with subpoena power. She wants to go after Trump and the people in the administration criminally. Wyoming, you did not do your job. Your censure and what happened, Jory Calenta and Crenta the Fourth and all the great people at Wyoming, she did not get the message. This is a defiant throwdown using the apparatus of the Reagan Library.
Yep.
Right? To put forward more Cheney lies. And the implication is, let's get rid of the white supremacists. Hey, let's get rid of the war. I tell you what, in the new Republican Party, we're going to start, let's get rid of the war criminals first. That would be your family. Let's get rid of the war criminals. Okay? Let's get people that lied and got America in, and the working class people in this country, their blood and their treasure. Where's the long list of Cheneys over there? Ma'am. I find her detestable. Boris, we got a better.
I do too. And ladies and gentlemen, and I know Sal was a little bit more, civilized than I am when it comes to this kind of thing. But to me, that's a lieutenant commander in the Navy whose daughter is a major with the 18th Airborne Corps. She was. And this is something that I stuck up for Vice President Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. And I still have no problem with Donald Rumsfeld. But I know people in Donald Rumsfeld's family that are in my family that don't like Donald Rumsfeld, and I stick up for him. But Cheney, I watched him after Desert Storm, and I watched him with Kellogg, Brown, and Root, and I watched KBR when I was in Iraq. And I got to tell you, it was nauseating what I saw. The graft and the just corruption and the
military industrial complex rolling like it's
but
like rolling like a steam train.
But no, not the military industrial complex. It's the oligarchy military industrial complex. The freaking guy's the vice president. And his company's doing this. And I'm trying to, that's the only company that could do that. You know why they had those contractors there? There was as many contractors at LSA Anaconda, where I was, almost as many as soldiers. But on the news, they said how many soldiers were there. They didn't count the other 15,000. They were invisible people that could be killed. And nobody gave a damn, except for their families. And that's what they were. They were paid, the Americans were paid what they thought was big money. It wasn't big money, but they thought it was.
Well, they were part of the big money, but the real big money was going to the
contract.
Yes.
Yeah, when you contract to the U.S. military, and it's not just the military, it's all the contractors too. They're eating too on a cost plus contract. I'm not going to go through that because it gets boring, but let's just say that it makes a peanut butter sandwich cost about $15, and that's every peanut butter sandwich served at all 4 meals for all 27,000 people, and 7,000 of those people take double what they're supposed to.
And that means we're all paying for that big
You're damn right.
butter sandwich.
Yeah. And it bankrupts us, and we didn't even take the oil. He's right about that, too. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we try to offset the cost to the American taxpayer of something like that if it was truly, like the GOP told us, imperative that we go there for our national security?
Because they didn't care. All they wanted to do was line their pockets.
Exactly.
They did not give a...
I agree. And my point is, my sole point in this whole thing is we better take the gloves off. And we better stop being worried about what somebody's going to think about us when we call a guy like that a war criminal. If he's not a war criminal, fine. Then say that and prove it. But until you can, I think he is. I think you can tell a lot about this by the reaction from the establishment to President Donald J. Trump's idea of getting us the hell out of these shithole countries we should have never been in. You know, I remember to this day, Afghanistan, I understood. But if you look at the way it has transpired, the history of it, and you look at the permanency of the buildings, and oh goodness, let's just we'll catch this at another time because I got too many other things I got to talk about. We got a caller on the line, Sal. We got Marlene from Eugene, Oregon. What's going on, Marlene?
Hey, Marlene, what's up?
Hello, Sal. Oh gosh. Hello, Hutch.
Hey,
oh,
okay.
Goodness. Well,
hey, let me ask you, what's your question or topic tonight?
I wanted to make a comment, a quick one about Steve Bannon. And
all right, go ahead. Tell us about Steve Bannon.
Bannon, I agreed that I felt that he really did take Lizzie, as I call her, or Liz. He took her to the cleaners. I thought it was great. She needed it.
Yeah, but let me ask you this: what type of credibility does Steve Bannon have? And I'm asking you, how do you view Steve Bannon?
I view him. I don't listen to him all the time because I can't listen to everybody. But I know not everybody likes him, and if they don't like him, that's okay. I happen to like him. I think he's one of the few credible voices out there. He's not the only one, but I don't have a negative opinion of him.
Okay, go ahead. What else do you have for us?
Okay. Also want to comment the fact that that interview with Jennifer, that was fantastic.
All right, good. I'm glad we're doing that again. It's a little bit it's a
I
little
am
tough.
too, Hutch. I really am. I'm glad we are.
It's a little tough, because Mona's really busy and sometimes lines get crossed. They didn't today. They worked out beautiful today. I'm really happy.
I am too. That's
I'm
great.
a little nervous about camp. I got to get to camp, so I'm going to have to figure out something going forward with that. I'm going to work on it this weekend. Hopefully we can get it back to the way it was because I did plenty of interviews out of there. But
you got a lot of them up there.
But can you humor me? Can we listen to Steve Bannon one more time? Just one more time.
Let's talk about another beauty. Willard Mitt Romney. Now, I want you to understand something. It was Willard Mitt Romney's comment yesterday, his tweet
Steve
or whatever
Bannon.
it was, and the only reason I'm going there, Mitt, because you started it. Mitt, you had to go there. All the insults you made about the President of the United States, put all that in back of us. He interviewed you for Secretary of State. Everything's fine. But no, Judge Moore's got to run. You got to jump in here. Honor, what did he say yesterday? Honor and integrity? Honor and that Judge Moore lacked honor and integrity. And that's why he couldn't vote for him, right? Couldn't support him. Couldn't support him. Judge Moore is a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point.
Something we need to revisit.
Judge Moore served his country in one of the toughest wars we've ever had, Vietnam. And he went over there for his country, his state, and his family. Mitt, that's honor and integrity. And by the way, Mitt, while we're on the subject of Vietnam and honor and integrity, you avoided service, brother, right? You served. Okay, Mitt, here's how it is, brother. Now the college deferments, that's we can debate that, but you hid behind your religion. You went to France to be a missionary while guys were dying in rice paddies in Vietnam. Do not talk to me about honor and integrity. And now I'm going to get personal. You ran for commander-in-chief. You had 5 sons. Not one day of service in Afghanistan and Iraq. We have 7,000 dead and 52,000 casualties. And where were the Romneys during those wars?
Where were the 7 wives?
You want to talk about honor and integrity, brother? Bring it. Bring it down here to Alabama. You have the guts to get on the stage. You have the guts to get on the stage of a man that served in Vietnam, and you expect us to believe honor and integrity. Judge Roy Moore has more honor and integrity in that pinky finger than your entire family has and its whole DNA.
I even put music behind it. This is like...
And you know why he's on Judge Moore. He's still bitter about Donald Trump. Embrace it, Mitt. He is President of the United States and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, something you so miserably failed at.
All right, Marlene, I had to do that, man. Just every now and then you got to have that.
Yeah, he's
that was another good one. He really took the rounding to the cleaners. I'm glad. Actually, one other thing I wanted to bring up, and this is kind of more in a semi-local. There's a small restaurant over in Florence. We used to go to the original one, but it's called, it's the Little Brown Hen. It used to be the Blue Hen Cafe a few years ago. Killer place for breakfast. I'm not kidding. Anyway,
do they have sausage gravy or cream chip beef?
I know they have sausage gravy.
Okay.
They have scrapple?
They might have had cream chip. Scrapple, no. You got to remember, this is not the East Coast.
Cornmeal mush?
They do have sausage gravy.
Grits?
Good.
Grits?
Cornmeal
no
mush?
grits. This is not the South, guys.
What kind of breakfast place is this? Is it some
was
like
a very-
hipster?
It was
Is this
a
some like
local
hipster?
breakfast place where they had
avocado toast.
They had killer egg omelets. I'm not kidding you. 4 egg omelets that were bull mammoth.
4 eggs, man, that's a big one.
Oh yeah, they were huge.
That's a little
These
omelet.
breakfast places were huge. I kid you not. It was great, awesome breakfast.
With turkey
But
bacon?
anyway, what's happening is the stupid state of Oregon is deciding to fine this small little restaurant $18,000 because they're saying no to the COVID bullshit.
Well, I got one of those too, and I rode by it today, and it's still closed. The Cracked Egg up on Brownsville.
It is closed, yes. They decided to
Yeah.
stay closed.
They're not closed yet, but yeah, they went over.
Resist, folks. Resist. I'm telling you, it's time. When the government starts being unlawful, you are not doing your duty if you listen to what they say.
Don't ask for permission.
That's right, man. Don't.
Right.
Resist.
In fact, no, I was glad they stood up. I was happy for them. Seriously.
Yeah. Now there's
And
some
on a funny
successful
note,
ones.
I don't know if you remember this, Hutch, but you were talking about the purple people eater.
Yeah.
You remember Dr. Demento? Did you ever
I
listen
do.
to him when you were younger?
I did.
Remember that silly song? That's what it made me think of and going, oh my gosh.
Oh, there used to be some gross ones on there.
Oh, I
There
know
was some-
there
there
were.
were some bad
In fact,
ones,
a friend told me that there are actually 2 different versions, one for the West Coast and one for the East Coast. And the
Well,
East Coast was a little bit worse than what we heard out here.
I remember a song, and I'm just going to say this real quick. I'm not endorsing it or nothing like that.
Oh, I know. I wouldn't either.
It was called Eating Babies. Eating
Ew,
babies.
I never heard that one.
Eating babies. There's no better
Oh,
way
my
to
God.
satisfy your id than to eat up a fresh little kid.
Oh, my God.
It was sick. I know. No, I'm not.
That's
Don't.
way sick.
It is sick. It is sick. All right, Marlene, final comments. What's up?
Okay, final comment. 2 real quick ones. I like Rumsfeld myself. I still do. And when you were talking about the overcost, the food overcost over in Iran or Iraq, that made me think of back early Bird's Eye View with your friend Larry. You guys were talking about that.
Oh,
How
man,
these
Larry.
guys-
Larry was a warrior, man. Larry would go in there.
Oh, he was.
We
And
would
you guys
go
were
into
talking
the-
about how those guys in line would just oink out through the gills.
This guy
They were
would.
taking
We went into
cartons
mess
after
hall.
one after the other of food.
We went into mess hall one time, and there was a table that there was these 3 contractors sitting there, and they had so much food, non-spoiling food like muffins and Hostess cakes and stuff like that, just stacked up on this table. And Larry goes up to him and pulled. This was back when there wasn't no iPhones yet, right? I mean, they weren't even out yet. So you had those little video cameras, I forget what they even called them. They weren't webcams, but they were like cameras that, just took a video and stored it on a drive, on a
or they stored it on
a chip, on a chip or whatever.
I used to have one of those.
He got up right in front of him and pulled his camera out and turned it on and started panning up and down. And he was talking. He's like, "This is your government taxpayer, your tax dollars at work." And I'm thinking these dudes are like,
I love it.
These guys are 3 sheets to the freaking steroids, right? They're killers, is what they are. They're killers for hire, And during that time frame, the people that were hiring them, Blackwatering them, didn't really care if they were drug addicts. You could see the veins popping out in their necks and their heads. And the reason I say that is because Terrence, my brother-in-law, was one of these guys too, but he doesn't do any of that. You know what I mean? It's cleaned up a lot since these guys. These were scary guys. They really were. But all right, thank you, Marlene. I appreciate it. I always do.
You're welcome.
All right.
Take care.
All right, so I want you to listen to this lovely lady. She's the woman that's on the picture of the show, of the episode. Catalina Lauf is her name. Let's listen. This is from the RNC
Catalina Lauf
convention.
I work in the political space.
And I'm Madeline Lauf, and I'm the founder of Begin Health, a children's nutritional company.
All right, this is Catalina Lauf and her sister. Her sister owns a business. They were both, this is their spot at the RNC, at the convention last year.
We grew up in a really small town outside of Chicago.
Our mom's from Guatemala. Our dad's a small business owner from Chicago. And so we brought 2 different cultures together to create us. A little bit of crazy and
a little bit of fun, yes. They taught us the values of hard work, liberty, to love this country unapologetically. Our dad is a beekeeper and just had so many different things out in the countryside, and it was just such a sweet
We grew up selling honey at farmers markets, so my line was, have you ever been stung by a bee? But really, it was teaching us, again, entrepreneurship, small business, self-reliance, and that we're the ones that need to put in the hard work to get what we want.
And my mother, being from Guatemala, escaping what she had there, growing up in poverty, and coming here to the United States, being able to fulfill her destiny and be somebody that she couldn't there in her home country.
And they really instilled in us the sense of purpose, but also self-accountability, and that we had to strive to do the things that we wanted, and it was up to us to make those things happen.
In America, there's no ceiling of opportunity. You define your own destiny through personal responsibility, through hard work, through having a moral value system. That's the American dream, and President Trump's providing that for everybody.
Look at my business, Begin Health. As a small startup that is growing and launching, we are constantly trying to innovate. And the big challenge that COVID brought that we just didn't see coming was that just almost everything kind of just shut down. And when you are a small startup and you have limited funding, and the funding is really only to kind of get you to that next milestone, we were really struggling. And so we were able to apply for a PPP loan, which really helped allow us to continue hiring and working and developing our products so that we could ultimately still launch.
It's now more than ever so important to have a president and an administration that understands that small business is the backbone of our economy. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was huge. Manufacturing, deregulation, fair trade. These are things that affected real Americans. We have a champion in the Oval Office who has this business background. He actually understands the need for small businesses like my sisters to survive. We aren't the stereotypical conservative. I mean, we come from Hispanic descent, and we're millennial women, and that's not what the media wants. And so somebody like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, this far left, these women come out with these very, very destructive political ideologies that are trying to infiltrate millennials and the next generation. I decided to step up and say, well, we need a counter voice to these women.
There has been an assault on capitalism, just generally. And I think it's very scary to imagine a Biden world where the progressive wing ideas are starting to take front and center stage. That will really choke the American economy. There will be over-regulation, over-taxation. It's very hard to innovate through those two things. And ultimately, what's really sad is the thought of making all of us dependent on the government, and we are not going to allow that.
I've seen a lot of moderates, a lot of people now changing over because of everything that's been happening. This is a taste of Biden's America. I mean, the rioting, the crime, freedom is at stake now, and this is going to be the most important election of our lifetime. We want to preserve the America that our mother came here for. Having a thriving economy, that is keeping America great, and President Trump has delivered on that promise. He's truly fighting for the American people. We're the greatest country in the world, period. On our worst day, we're still the greatest country in the world. And in order to preserve that, it's by putting America first, having a thriving economy, having happiness.
Enrico is on the line, and everybody that's listening to the show is going, Hutch, why in the hell did you just play that? And I got to tell you, the young lady's name is Catalina Lauf, L-A-U-F. And guess who she's running against in Illinois? Kinzinger. She's primarying Adam Kinzinger. A case could be made that the United States Air Force Academy should be closed down because they failed to vet Adam Kinzinger, a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force, probably the Guard or the Reserve now, because his time's done. And he can't follow his constitutional duties when it comes to the commander-in-chief, Sal. I mean, this is a guy that has proven that our military academies need to be relooked at. I really mean that. All of them. Every single one of them. And they should probably all be shut down. And they should get a council of senior non-commissioned officers, senior warrant officers, and semi-senior officers, no higher than the rank of 06 or colonel.
So leadership's the problem there?
Absolutely. Political leadership. The proximity of the leadership at the Pentagon to the Senate and the House, and more importantly, K and J Street in Washington, D.C., in Georgetown, the lobbyists, is suicidal. I mean, look at Austin. Austin, the Secretary of Defense, is telling soldiers to tell their personal stories of white supremacy, of which there isn't any. And he's doing that. This black guy is doing that to service members. Do you believe there's white supremacy in the military? I went 35 years, I never saw it. I mean, the closest that I could tell you.
If you want to look for something, you can find it.
It's not there, though.
But
it's not there.
You know, obviously they want to paint a narrative. That is where they're headed, Hutch. They want, or that's where, not where they're headed, that's where they're at. They want to paint the narrative to make you believe that the white American male is the person or the people that cause all the trouble. Let me tell you this. This is a fact. It was the white American male that made damn sure that right now that you're able to listen to us.
Not only that, I mean, you look at,
and we're not.
I don't want to go there.
And we're not talking German right now,
right? And I don't want to go.
Or we're not talking Chinese, but
we can do a whole show on that. I don't want to go haphazard on that one.
Right, but I just want to say
you're right.
Yeah, we
You're
can.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to put that out there.
I just don't want there to be any clips available of me that they could say, "Look, he's a white supremacist. He said that white people did good shit." You know what I mean? And I don't want to do that. But you know, when you look at this whole thing, you know, the only thing I can remember, racist-wise, in the military was against my ass. You know what I mean? There was a lot of black things going on in the military in the 80s that I had to deal with that I didn't go crying to the government about. I just handled it on my own. And if you look at a lot of people, a lot of white people in the United States military, they act black, a lot of them. I mean, this is just a fact. It's a fact. There is a black culture in the United States military, which I didn't mind. You know what I mean? I didn't mind. All right, let's do this. I had friends in all different races, if you will. Anyway, like I said,
it's a narrative that they want to paint and make you believe.
Adam Kinzinger got to go, folks. He's got to go. To the phones in just a second. Just a second. Let me look at what I got. I got 2 left, and we got time. Yeah, we got time. All right. So the story, let's go to Rico in Kentucky, just to make sure that he doesn't have a burr under his saddle. I want to talk about something that we've already covered. Rico, what's going on, my brother? See that? I even sounded
burr?
Didn't I? Didn't you see that? Yeah.
I got a burr about something's going on here in Marshall County.
Okay. Does it have anything to do with Mitch McConnell?
Proceed.
Well, kind of, sort of. It has something to do with COVID.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That you had, by
All right,
the way.
so
Did you die?
No, I'm still here. I'm talking.
Are we sure? Is this really you?
Yes, it's me, motherfucker. Okay, is that good enough?
Oh! You didn't even give me a chance to beep the shit. I mean, it was
Okay.
like, it's like the storm came down.
That's right. Rico's
This is-
for real, man. You know
This
that.
is what Sal can't hear when he's on the other connection, but he can hear it now. Let's take
All
a
right.
picture. Take a picture of that. Okay, good.
In Benton, Kentucky, is in the middle of Marshall County in the western part of Kentucky. They have
Check.
something called Tater Day, as in potato.
Tater Day.
Tater Day. Look it up. Tater Day, Benton, Kentucky. It now has been canceled for the second year in a row. But what I've gone to this for the last 4 years since I moved to Kentucky, and all it is a bunch of white people waving around Confederate flags. I'm kind of wondering if they're going to cancel culture a white man's day.
You know, I don't know. I mean, I think that when you look at, oh boy, I mean, I'm not from down south, man. I'm not. So I don't have any like blood ties to the stars and bars, you know, and I don't like the idea of canceling things out, but I also don't like the idea of being stupid, you know, and right now, probably you're not going to further your cause a whole lot. And I know that sounds like me capitulating, but really, man, I mean, what are you going to, with the vultures that are out there, with all the white people that hate themselves, that are being churned out of our colleges, do we really want to do that?
I think you misunderstand Western
I must
Kentucky.
I must. Go
Western
ahead.
Western Kentucky doesn't give a shit about what people think of them because
Okay.
we know we're good people, even though that the vast majority of us are white. We are in a predominantly white county,
right?
We know, and and they're God-fearing people too. Even though I'm an atheist, I agree with what they have to say because I believe in
That's
the
just
freedom
because
of
you've never
speech.
been. That's just because you're not a veteran, man. I mean, if you were a veteran, you
not a veteran.
wouldn't be an atheist.
I would be, but I still go to church. I'm the only atheist I know that goes to church.
All right, you got a strange look that just came across my face. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I love you, man. Go ahead.
But anyways, this whole thing is being canceled this year, along with the Christmas parade and stuff like that. It usually lasts about a week, and they have one day where everybody comes out from all over the state. You know, they come in, they celebrate basically Tater Day. What that really originally started as, they celebrated a harvest a long time ago, and now
So it's Scotch Irish is what it is. It's Scotch Irish.
How do you like your
I'm not
taters?
sure.
How do you like your taters?
Cooked.
I like it double baked, you know.
But
You
really,
cook 'em-
really, in all seriousness,
I thought Idaho had taters.
The Scotch Irish were a huge immigrant influence on Appalachia. I mean, you know, everybody hated the Scotch Irish until the Indians showed up, and then they all loved them because we were the best warriors in the world. And you know, the Germans would come in and they would build breweries.
Do you ever make a potato gun?
Yeah, I have. I did. And matter of fact, I did it old school. I did it with the soup cans.
Oh yeah.
Before they came out with them little pop tops.
Uh-huh.
The ones you had to hit both sides with the can opener. And then the final one, I'm trying to remember. There was the final one. You put a little pinhole in the end of it, and I think you just put a little output on the outside, and you sprayed hairspray at the top or lighter fluid, and then a little bit in the back, and boom. Rico, go ahead. Sorry, that doesn't count against your time.
I'm just saying, man, I'm a little frustrated with it. I do understand the COVID thing, but there are more people that go daily to local Walmart than they would go to.
Well, that's sort of what Hutch was
parade.
Agree, and that's that's what we were asking. You were alive because
I'm surprised. And I can't believe that Kentucky still has firefighters and police. I mean, they should all be dead, right? I mean, what about all the employees at Sam's Club? And Crystals. You're in Kentucky. What about Crystals?
We got a lot of respect for our law enforcement and our fire department. And
but are they immune to the Wuhan devastation? This is I'm listening to. Do I have a clip on this or a story on this? I think I do. This is absolutely ridiculous. Well, maybe I don't. But one of the things that happened. Oh, there it is. No, that's not it. But Biden came out today and just lied his ass off, man. He came out and said that more people have died from COVID than World War II, World War I, Vietnam, everything else, all put together. And I'm like, moron, you didn't die.
They're not. The other thing is they're not comparable.
Not at all. Not at all. You're talking about natural causes. When a 78-year-old dude dies of the flu, that's some natural stuff. That is not a pandemic. That is God.
They have overinflated those numbers by so much.
Of course they have.
I bet you the real number is actually under 100,000.
You're probably right.
Yes, people have died from it, but they overinflate it. And the reason why they overinflate it so they can control you, so the government has the power to control you. And by the way, did you hear what this dumbass AG candidate said about insurrections during the day versus the night?
No, I didn't. But did you know that GOP leader Mitch McConnell from Kentucky has announced his support for Open Borders radical Merrick Garland for Attorney General, Rico?
Yeah, I think Texas and New Mexico and Arizona, all these states ought to say, get the fuck out of here. We don't need federal police officers here. We'll take
he
care
told
of
you,
ourselves.
he's basically said, that Antifa is not a terrorist organization and we're going after white supremacists. And just to translate what that means is any white guy that commits any type of potential crime is going to be a white supremacist. This has got to end.
No, white people are going to go to prison just for being white. People are going to point the finger at white people and say, he did this, even though he didn't. He did this, and they will be going to jail. And jail is going to be used as a concentration camp collecting device. And sooner or later, there's going to be concentration camps, and then crematoriums.
All right. Listen, let's slow down. Let's slow down, and let's not think about that. Let's think about how to stop this from getting to the next phase. Rico, thanks for calling, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm running out of time, man. Running out of time. All right. I want to go to the Lincoln Project, Sal. This is an organization that has just been, I'm trying to be mellow. I remember our conversation. But they have been identified as being very sexually deviant. Let's just put it there.
In my opinion, they're a bunch of degenerates.
They are degenerates. Let's listen to the mainstream media and how they feel about the Lincoln Project.
The Lincoln Project. George Conway is with us. And Kurt Bardella, Senior Advisor to the Lincoln Project. Rick Wilson.
And Stuart Stevens.
Joining me now, Susan Del Percio, Republican strategist and Senior Advisor to the Lincoln Project.
Lincoln Project, known as the Lincoln Project, has been coming apart at the seams.
So there's they're not hiding from it. They are still in love. That Rick White was the guy talking about the lines on the map, man. That's the one they're talking about. He's one of the top guys.
Well, they are ready to just. I don't know why we're not hearing more about them. I don't know why we're not. I know.
The media's degenerates too. Look at all when the cancel culture came.
That was a rhetorical.
Or
question.
I mean, the Me Too thing came. The media between the Damn, what was some of their names? There was a bunch of them out there. Who was the? Jeez, I can't think of these guys' names. I'm looking at his face in my head. Charlie Rose, and the rest of these guys. I mean, they're out there getting caught. Hollywood people, and they don't care, man. They just don't.
No, they don't want to report it. They don't want to tell you the truth. They don't want to tell you what the true motives of these people are, which is not.
It's sickening.
It's not what you think it is.
No, I agree. I got one more clip, and then we're going to go to take a final phone call. But I want you to listen to the chief of the Capitol Police, and I have to tell you, when I listen to these people saying this is the worst thing they've ever seen in their entire career when it comes to the United States government and insurrection and things like that, it makes me want to throw up. Do you realize that there was Buddhist monks in front of the White House that poured gas on their heads and lit themselves on fire? Self-immolation. It was a term that nobody had ever heard before during the Vietnam War when Nixon was president and Johnson. I mean, Eric Holder was a black nationalist revolutionary who occupied the United States Navy Reserve Officer Training Corps building in Columbia University while armed. And they call this little Boy Scout meeting on the 6th an insurrection. Listen to this cowardly bastard, but listen to him. He calls out Antifa.
Good morning, Chairwoman Klobuchar, Ranking Member Blunt, Chairman Peters, and Ranking Member Portman. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to testify before your two committees.
How does a white guy
on the United States
become the
Capitol
chief of the Capitol Police, which is
99
DC is 99%
the events I witnessed
black?
on January 6th
You talk
was
about
the worst
racist.
attack on law enforcement and our democracy that I have seen in my entire career. I witnessed insurgents beating police officers with fists, pipes, sticks, bats,
Insurgents?
metal barricades, and flagpoles.
Republicans, right, dude?
These criminals
No.
came prepared for war. They came with their own
War
radio
where?
system to coordinate the attack and climbing
War in
gear and other
Zimbabwe?
equipment to defeat the Capitol's security features. I am sickened by what I witnessed that day. Our officers fought valiantly, using batons, shields, chemical munitions, and pepperball guns to hold back the attackers. Capitol Police and responding law enforcement agencies showed tremendous restraint by not using their firearms, which would have likely led to a more chaotic situation and a possible mass casualty incident. No civilian law enforcement agency, to include the United States Capitol Police, is trained or equipped to repel an insurrection of thousands of individuals focused on breaching a building at all costs. I am extremely proud and appreciative of the Capitol Police officers, the Metropolitan Police Department, and the other law enforcement agencies that came to our assistance. A clear lack of accurate and complete intelligence across several federal agencies contributed to this event, and not poor planning by the United States Capitol Police. We rely on accurate information from our federal partners to help us develop effective security plans. The intelligence that we based our planning on indicated that the January 6th protests were expected to be similar to the previous MAGA rallies in 2020, which drew tens of thousands of participants. The assessment indicated that members of the Proud Boys, white supremacist groups, Antifa, and other extremist groups were expected to participate on January 6th, and that they may be inclined to become violent. Based on the intelligence that we received, we planned for an increased level of violence at the Capitol, and that some participants...
All right, so basically the reason I played that was because you heard him say, you've heard all these liars, and I said this at the beginning of the show, that the only way that these people can civilly fight us is with lies. They have to start with lies. And this is the chief of the District of Columbia Police Department, which is in a place that you're either a millionaire or you're black. There's not a whole lot in between. I don't know if you've ever been there. I've been there several times.
I have, and it
Mexican or Guatemalan. I mean,
I don't want to call it a war zone. But
it can be outside of the capital region.
Some of the places are pretty bad.
Oh, they certainly are. They definitely are. But you have this guy, and he comes out there, and he mentions the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys had nothing to do with this. He mentioned white supremacists. I don't know if some Democrat white supremacists were there or not, because there's none in the Republican sphere. Those are Democrats. White supremacists, KKK types. Democrats, you own those. Antifa, same thing. He did mention them. That's who was there. So I wanted to play that just to show you that there's no justice, man. These people, it's going to fall apart. In my opinion, Sal, it's going to fall apart. You can only continue these lies so much. Let's go to Dave from Eugene, Oregon. What's going on, Dave?
Oh, I was listening to you the other day. You mentioned that word alien rights. And I was with Marlene in the hotel and I told her to look it up. And it said that these are rights that are not capable of being revoked by man because they're not given by man. So I was finding, you mentioned that word, the rapacity that I mentioned before was the Romans. They never worked to deal with them through concessions.
Yeah.
Because the more gains they got, the more addicted to conquest they were.
Right.
The more they got, the more they wanted. So, often reminds me of the rapacity that's built in everyone's nature. If the sin nature is left to run amok, and there's no spiritual principle to keep a man on track, or bring a man back in the track when he goes out of track.
Man, that is so important. What you just said is so important. And I think that's the reason, or one of the reasons that, from the beginning of the 1900s, back in the, when the Soviets were taking over the czars in Russia. I mean, the first thing they did, even with all those magnificent Christian churches, you can't have Marxism or communism or any of this when you have God in the same room.
All that freedom.
And
that's an interesting point, because the two do not go together.
Right.
A house divided against itself cannot stand.
But you have to, at some point, we have to expel the GOP people that are dragging us down, in my opinion. We've been hoodwinked for 50 years. There's been a big portion of the United States of America, a lot of them white people, I mean, we got to go there, that have thought that the Republican Party was going to be our salvation. And it's clear that they left the church. The morality that is required for self-governance as laid out in the Federalist Papers and in common sense in the church. If that morality base is gone, how can you self-govern? The next thing you know, like Rush Limbaugh wrote in his book, as soon as people realize that they can vote for money for themselves, it's over.
Without consent, you're dealing with arbitrary rules. And that's basically slavery, because we're not determining our own ends. We're not, like Teresa was saying, putting in our checks and balances through our vote, which I thought was a very noble comment. I was glad you gave her that time to speak. She obviously hit something.
Right. So how is your outlook, Dave? Your outlook on, have you been noticing that we're starting to gain a little? I wouldn't say gain, but back in earthly things. I'm not talking about religious things, but back in the human condition, it looks like our side is starting to toughen up a little bit. I don't know how effective that's going to be, but I'm getting a good feeling by the way we're fighting back a little. Your thoughts? All right. So anyway, I just wondered, if you felt a little optimistically lately at some of the nuggets are coming in from the news and in different stories, or if you feel all is lost. All right. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go. Go ahead. Go ahead. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Cold War Radio. Had a little problems there with the connection in Eugene, but Sal, I think we're going to solve our energy problem. I don't think we need to drill anymore. I don't think we need a Keystone pipeline. I don't think we need to drill offshore because
Louisiana GOP Representative Higgins challenges Biden to live without oil and gas. He's proposed a House Resolution 149 that calls on Biden to remove the White House from the electric grid and install windmills on the South Lawn.
Wow.
American innovation, not job-killing government mandates, is driving emissions reductions, Higgins said in a statement. However, if President Biden truly believes in his radical climate agenda,
freaking Higgins,
then he should lead by example, starting at the White House.
Have you ever seen this guy? This guy is a maverick, man. He would be a good president, but he'd have the stars and bars flying. I mean, this Higgins, he's wow, he's a cop.
To accomplish the latter, Higgins suggested immediately detaching the White House from the electric grid and installing windmills and solar panels on the presidential lawn. The resolution also calls Biden to replace Air Force One and Marine One with electric-powered aircraft and the presidential limousine with an electric car. Quote, modern life is not possible without the oil and gas industry, Higgins said. These energy sources fuel the world, and petroleum-based products are found in virtually everything, everywhere. Of course, let me tell you this. The White House did not immediately respond for a request for a comment. As Hutch sort of preluded the stars and bars, Higgins is an Army veteran and former SWAT operator.
Oh, yeah, man. He's like, yeah. I want to tell all you gang members, bring your ass out in the street. You know, I mean, he's wild, man. And he caught hell from the leftists, but I love him. I mean,
he's telling it how it is. You know, you got to give the guy some credit. You know, of course, this is not an idea that's going to go anywhere, but it's a good example of if Asterisk Biden wants to really live his green agenda, well, hey, you got to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if he really wants to live his green agenda, he should look in his son's mouth. I mean, those teeth, there got to be some green stuff growing up in there. I mean, did you see those black little stumps?
Those chiclets.
Yeah, that he had for teeth, and now he's got the chiclets. Now he's got the big peppermint chiclets. I mean, the Biden chiclets. I can't believe this guy's our president, man. He's not, but I mean, he is. It's pretty nuts, man. I mean, a pro-family news outlet has been suspended by Twitter for stating that a Biden administration official's biological sex. You're going to hate this, man. Global Christian Ministries' focus on the family's account has been locked and censored for tweeting a link to an article on its affiliated platform, The Daily Citizen. The article, written by Zachary Mettler, stated that Dr. Levine is a transgender woman, that is, a man who believes he is a woman. The Family Policy Alliance, the FPA account, tweeted a screenshot of the locked account, writing that their crime was a tweet which identified Assistant Health Secretary pick Rachel Levine, who has 2 sons, by the way, as a biological male. If stating the facts gets you banned, none of us belong here.
Well, hey, I actually thought about this. We were in deep thought in the household, deep thought about it, and we were trying to come up with a name that portrays the gender but also portrays the other parts. And we came up with a perfect name.
What is it?
What's Her Nuts?
What's Her Nuts? That's a good one. I prefer trans testicle, but I'm not sure if he had the procedure yet. You're familiar with the procedure?
Yes.
The chopaticophomy?
Yes.
Your procedure, yeah.
Yes.
And on the other hand, the addictomy.
Yes, I'm familiar with those. Yes, not personally,
right?
Yes,
but you know the President Joe Biden's nominee to run the Central Intelligence Agency, William Burns, has a history of cooperation organizations linked to the Chinese Communist Party. An in-depth study of Biden's weakness. Can you believe that? His weakness, all the data that this freaking show brought to the world. And I was echoing other places. It wasn't, stuff that we dug up. We were echoing, information that was coming from other reporters, investigative journalists. This guy is owned by the Chinese, and Biden's weakness on China. And now he's got a CIA director. Imagine that. I mean, does nothing ever change? Is the intelligence community, they hold the people in Walmart as detestable. I swear they want everybody in masks. They might as well be Chinamen in the back of the hotel. Ay, ay, ay. It's unbelievable. I can't even go any further. I've had enough.
Well, Biden's assembling his yes men and yes women and yes people and whatever they are. But
Xing Tao. And the final story that we have, you had Ashley Babbitt killed. You know what? All told, 7 people died in connection with the U.S. Capitol false flag on January 6th. I mean, that wasn't a riot. That was, if you look at that video, it's so clear that anybody that was out there committing violence was not on the right. These were not people that left their homes and came to Washington, D.C. to do violence. Those were people that were paid, and they were there. What happened, this cop shot this Ashley Babbitt right in the face or the neck. She wasn't doing anything. She was standing there. Her hands were at her sides, and this freaking guy just murdered her. And now nobody knows who he is. When this junkie, when this crackhead in Minneapolis was getting apprehended by the white cop, everybody knew his whole family. But this woman got murdered on national television, got shot in the face for no reason. And we don't know who this guy is yet. And we never will.
It's a compelling story that we need to hear the whole story. I hope we get an opportunity to hear it. I don't know if we are. Again, this goes back to our media that's going to bury this thing. It's going to bury it. You're right. They don't want to know the answers. They don't want to give you the answers. Yeah, we don't want to come in. We're not going to dox these people like the other side does. However, we should know. Yet. We should know. Why don't we know? We should know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the and this is another reason, Sal and ladies and gentlemen, why I feel upbeat. This can't last. How long do you think this can last? How many people do you think there are enough people in America that will rise up against a machine as opposed to somewhere like Germany when they were succumbed by the Nazis? I think so. I think the Germans are weak people. I think the entire European situation, I detest them all. I don't like any of them. Western Europe, I don't think we should be allies with them. I don't think they've done anything for us for 50 years. I think we should embrace Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe knows what's going on. I want to embrace Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic. Screw England. Screw everybody in Western Europe. That's my opinion. I mean that. The Italian men might as well be women. The same way with England. Your men are the most, what you have allowed to happen for the last 30 years at the hands of the Pakistani Muslims to your women is enough that you should be castrated. That's the way I feel. And I have for years. It's something that I don't care about Western Europe anymore. I think we should NATO, flush NATO.
Well, that's not going to happen with this administration
right
now, unfortunately.
That's why I love the last one.
Yeah, because we're back to the same old.
They want to do the same thing here.
Right.
They want to give our women up the same way. It's the way it is. And you can, but it's gender. Gender is not a thing. Yes, it is. There's men and there's women. Whether you like that, whether you believe it, and I know American college graduates don't believe it, but I didn't go to college, and I know there's a difference between a man and a woman, Sal.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, it's about that time. We've been in here for a while. I appreciate the couple extra minutes. You were late, man, so you're treading water, man. That's something on a guest night. Even I had to do the whole interview, but I'm gonna be all right.
Okay,
it's okay.
All right.
Final comments, brother.
Hey,
how can people get in touch with you? Did you join any other groups? And thank you for the cup that has a wire bail inside that you can put nutrition or protein shakes. But as Sal told me, you could put eggs in there too, and all of a sudden you got a fluffy 3-egg omelet, because we don't do them 4 eggs here. We care about our hearts.
That's right. But hey, where can you catch? Final comments. Nice show. Thanks for accommodating me, Hutch. Appreciate it. And everyone in the audience, patrons, whoever else is listening. It's great. Where can you catch me? I don't know about right here in this seat next
Catch
Wednesday.
me outside.
But probably next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. I'll talk to you all then.
All right, Sal, I appreciate it. Everyone who called in. Sean, you did a great thing. Anyone who heard Sean's call, when I opened the phones to contact a guest, that's how you do it, man. He was like, bada boom, threw out his question, listened to the answer, said goodbye, bada boom. It was about 3-4 minutes, Sal. It worked beautifully. That's the way we like to do it. Anyway, we'll be back on Friday with Jack from Virginia. And then Saturday morning, I'm going out to camp. I'm not sure what we're going to do on Monday yet. I'm going to talk to Ward. We might have to revert back to USB microphones and Skype, which might mean that there'll be no clips, but we'll figure it out. One way or another, we're going to do it. Please go to rsbn.bandcamp.com. Support Jacob Seals. Go to steelcityresistance.com and support Terrence Lawson on his quest to save children. Sal, it was a great show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for calling in. Thank you for listening. If you're on the podcast, give us a call, 412-567-1460. Much Bailey Jr. Thanks for letting us into your life for a couple hours, ladies and gentlemen. God bless.